Welcome to Improving Sales Performance, a podcast highlighting tips and insights aimed at helping sales organizations realize and maybe even exceed their goals. Here we chat with thought leaders, experts, and gurus who have years of sales experience from a wide range of industries. This season, we are celebrating Women in Sales Month by talking to some amazing women sales pros. Joining me for the entire month of October is Stephanie Downs, SVP and Senior Consultant at the Center for Sales Strategy. She'll be sharing her insights along with our fabulous guests. I'm your host, Matt Sunshine, Managing Partner at the Center for Sales Strategy, a sales performance consulting company.
We're so proud to be celebrating Women in Sales Month. For all of October, we have an amazing slate of women sales leaders who will be sharing their unique insights, from offering advice for sales managers new or more experienced to discussing the anticipated landscape of sales in years ahead. When it comes to improving sales performance, these ladies know how it's done. I'm Stephanie Downs, Senior Vice President at the Center for Sales Strategy, and I'll be joining Matt Sunshine on the show for the entire month of October. Today, our guest is Nicki Harkrider, Vice President, Local Revenue Officer at TEGNA. Nicki brings so many awesome points to the table, such as the importance of fostering a culture of engagement amongst your sales teams, having and maintaining your core purpose as a sales leader, and the power of staying resilient through the fatigue of change.
All right, let's jump in. Stephanie and I are so excited about this conversation this morning. We have our questions lined up and we have an amazing guest. Stephanie, I'll let you start it off.
Yep, perfect. Okay, so Nicki, thinking about the overall sales organization, what are 3 or 4 or 5 different things that you look at just to tell you guys are on track, that you know things are going the way you want them to be going?
Yeah. So I think what's interesting about that question, Stephanie, is the sales department. And so from a department, I think is so different than for, a local sales manager, for instance, talking about what they look at for their AEs.
Yeah.
So when I look at it through the lens of the department, I really look a lot at we have a dashboard that we look at that is basically all the areas that we have responsibilities in as a team, their KPIs.
Yeah.
And so when I open that dashboard and I see a lot of green, a lot of sellers with a lot of green in all of those responsibilities, that's my immediate visual that the department is healthy.
Yeah.
And a department can be making a goal, for instance. But when you open that up and you only have maybe a low percentage of sellers that are creating that performance on a team, that can be tricky because it's really about the depth. It's about the amount of sellers, the percentage of sellers that are all experiencing success. So the higher that percentage is in all their areas of responsibility, to me, that really is a reflection of the high bar that sales department has. It's really a reflection of the depth on their team, which I think is super important. It's really a reflection of what a great place for a new employee to come in and learn.
Yeah.
You've got so many people to learn from. So I think that's super important today. And I think it's a reflection of a great culture.
Yeah,
I really do.
For sure.
I think when you see a dashboard with a high percentage of sellers with green, that's a great culture. And I think that with everything we're going through, when you can have a great place to learn, when you have a high bar, when you have got a great culture and you've got depth, that's a healthy sales organization.
Yeah.
And they're doing great work. So when I look at it through the lens of the department, that's really how I get a visualization on how that is. Now, of course, when I go there, I can feel that.
You can see, yeah, that's right. You get a different perspective.
Hey, let me follow up real quick. So every single station, every single market has the same, I'm asking a question, has the same dashboard, the same KPIs, the same tracking across the board. So as a leader, that makes it
consistent to
consistent.
look at.
Yeah. I think that's a really big point, the consistency of measure that's going on across the board.
Yeah, I agree. And I think to have consistency, I will give you guys credit. There's been many a times where you're trying to identify and hire for a role. And I've always carried this with me from many years when I was at the station and working with you. And you would say, identify what you're looking for in that role and identify the questions you want to ask in the interview process that feeds to that need. That's right. Having the consistency of those questions across all candidates really helps you see what you're trying to see. So for me in this role, the consistency of that across all of our stations is super, super valuable when you're looking at the health of the organization there in their local market.
Yeah. So similar question, to what you're looking at. And I like the word consistency because there's a lot to that. What else should sales managers be paying attention to? I mean, depth of obviously, all of the team contributing to the overall cause of the revenue numbers, right?
Right.
But what are some of the other high priorities or big rocks that sales managers should be paying attention to?
Yeah. So Stephanie, I'm going to say, of course, all those things we just talked about, right?
Yeah,
they're going to be looking at all of that.
Yeah.
But right now, I would be unbelievably focused on engagement.
Yep.
I think we are in such a difficult time. I have a ton of empathy for the local leaders in the marketplaces post-COVID, post getting teams in a rhythm again. From pre-COVID to today, so much has changed in our world. Nothing is the same.
That's right.
And as you're trying to move forward in this really different environment with different requirements in our role, you have got to be more engaged than ever. Yeah. And we've been separated. Again, we're not separated today, but there's still this different type of rhythm and an engaged team that they're having to rebuild. Yeah. And so for me, if I'm a leader, I am focused on all those things we talked about before, but I am focused on engagement in a very intentional way. And that is engagement with every person. And that's the engagement as a team as a whole.
That's right.
And without really high levels of engagement and recruiting for people that can share that same level of engagement with the right skill set that gives them the right opportunity and the belief in what we do, and retaining people with high engagement without really pulling that through with new employees and retaining your star talent. Yeah. I think that's really challenging. You've got to have high engaged teams with the right people.
You absolutely do. It's always been important, right? I mean, that's always been important, but it's more important now than it's ever been before. And you touched on recruiting. That's obviously a big need across a lot of, I know you deal with it, at TEGNA, but we see that across a lot of different companies that we deal with. So I'm curious, you made a comment about, everything has changed. Everything is different. And it is. We know the last 2.5 years, things have changed drastically. When you think about a sales leader from 3 years ago, 4 years ago, 5 years ago versus a sales leader today, what do you have to have in a sales leader, to be successful today? What is so important about that role now?
Yeah, so I think the sales leaders have a lot on their shoulders. And so, I'm a big person on purpose and really, having the strong level of core purpose in what you do. And so I think that those that still really have that every day in today, that is helping them drive their teams, themselves, et cetera, to the future. Because they're really committed
Yeah.
And I think that level of commitment that's necessary from leadership today, you have a lot of people really needing that. They really need to see the strong sense of purpose and the commitment and the belief in what our future can and will be. And I do think because the accelerated change that has happened and the uncertainty that's happened in the world, that leaders have an important role today.
Yes.
More than they ever have before. They were leading people and leading performance and leading goals and hiring people, but now they're creating a vision for the future every single day.
And they've got to be able to convey that vision and get buy-in on that vision and get people to come along with them. And purpose is a good word and committed is a good word, but they've got to be able to really bring people with them. And that goes back to the engagement conversation you were having.
Yeah. And you two know that one of my favorite words is galvanize.
Yeah.
I love the word galvanize. And I think that our leaders, I think the best leaders today are not, they are resilient in the fatigue that has happened through all of the unbelievable change. And they see all that as opportunistic. And they are able to galvanize their team through the right communication, through having a strong sense of purpose, through being truly, truly committed. And they're able to get everybody going to where they see there's the possibility to go. And I really believe that. I absolutely believe the future is very optimistic. I think that we absolutely can paint that picture. But it takes the mindset of a leader today to be able to do that. And so there's a lot of responsibility on leaders today because they have a higher responsibility than just skills and talents and goal performance. They have a responsibility to galvanize teams and people.
Yes. So if you were giving, I'm going to shift gears just a little bit. So if you were talking to a group of brand new sales leaders in our business today, what advice would you give them? Some of what you just said, but give me more detail on that.
Well, I think, and I have this conversation when I interview new leaders, and I really, I think that optimistic spirit is really important. I think attitude is really important. I think attitude is really important with sellers and leaders.
Agree.
And the advice that I give them is just putting myself in the shoes of a seller and in the shoes of what I loved as a seller and also what I found successful as a leader of sellers. And we talk about it all the time, is if you can create an environment where people want to run through a wall for you, and they would, then you've got high engagement.
Yes.
And I just think that that's harder to do unless you clearly see it. It's not that it's harder to do. It's about seeing how important that is. It's about seeing the role of that. And, through earning their trust, their respect. And I think there's a lot of things like you've got to have people's back. You've got to earn their respect. You've got to show that you care about them and that they can trust you. And, as long as you can create in that role, if you're a new leader, you have a team of people that want to run through that wall for you because they trust you, they respect you, they know that you care about them, and you teach them, you bring them value every day, then that's the way to success. And again, Stephanie, I would say that that would have been the same 15 years ago.
Forever.
How you do that is different today.
Yeah. I've heard you. Oh, go ahead, Matt, and then I'll jump back in.
Yeah. So I've been taking a lot of notes because
I talk a lot.
No, because
you have fabulous insight.
No, because this information is so good and so important. I want to recap some of it and give you an opportunity to expand if you want or add to anything here. But some of the things that I'm hearing you say is that you want to build a great place to learn, work, and grow. you want to have a great culture that as a leader, as a sales leader, if you can have a great place to learn, a great place to work, a great place to grow, you're really going to have that culture. And one of the keys to that is consistency. It's not just hey, I read an article, let's do this. I mean, it's more of a belief. It's more of let's get in. The other thing that you said was that engagement should be the number one focus. And I love that. Every person as well as every team, and you need to retain your star talent. I don't think we can emphasize that enough. And I love the way you put that together. I thought when you went on talking about commitment and that belief and that sense of purpose, and that leaders today need to create, share, and convey the vision. And then the last thing that I took notes on that I wanted to highlight, because I haven't heard you say this, and I'm gonna give you credit for saying it for at least a couple of times before I totally steal it and use it for my own. Resilient through the fatigue of change. And boy, isn't that the truth? Like that's truth right there. Resilient through the fatigue of change, because there's been a lot of change.
Yeah. There's no doubt, right? I mean, everybody, we all know. I mean, we can't sit here. I mean, we're not teaching anybody anything to say, oh, there's been massive change. We all know it. There's nothing that's really the same, honestly. Yeah. So I'm just a big believer in, you have to accept that. And part of acceptance, I believe, is the resilience, Matt. So, resilience through all the change that we've had, and then seeing the opportunity in what's ahead. Mm-hmm. And it's just critically important. And it's very important. Again, leaders play a very important role in that. Stephanie, one thing I will add, and Matt, I will just say you're a great student. Those are amazing notes. You did a great job summarizing. Your summary was perfect. Yeah. But I will say, Stephanie, you asked, what's different than a leader had to have, and I was talking about the role of that galvanizing and all that we just talked about. But I also add this. Those that have a lot of intuition or really great instincts have a very special way to lead that vision and lead their people in engagement today. Yeah. Because it is reacting in this environment is just not healthy. Yeah. So understanding what's going on with someone when they haven't even said it. Yeah. Why are they struggling with activity in the environment today? Yeah. What's getting in their way? The ability to connect and have great instinct with people for leaders today is absolutely critical in helping them solve their problems, helping them grow, helping them learn, Matt, to your point. Yeah. So I think instinct and intuition is really important.
I think it is absolutely important, but I think it's also important for leaders. We know strong leaders have that just natural intuition, and they need that. I think it's also important that leaders put some sort of routine or process in place to uncover some of that information as well. It can happen in one-on-ones each week. It can be that they stop down and have a formal process where they're asking very specific questions to learn what people are thinking about, what's important to them, where they want to go in an organization, what their growth goals are. There needs to be a process in place to help support that as well. Don't you think?
Totally agree. And I mean, I don't say it a lot because I can't imagine not doing it, but listening is just so important and asking the right questions. And when you're having a one-on-one and I personally can't imagine doing those over a computer anymore. I know we've all had to, but I don't know how you connect with your people and really understand and have great intuition if you're doing that across a computer screen. We are in our markets with our people, and we need to understand what's going on with our people. And there is body language. And I think there's a stat that 80% of what you're feeling or saying is actually through body language more than words. So picking up on that in person is another way when we're really trying to be intentional about engagement, our connection with our people is really important. So, I think listening, asking questions, and they don't have to be really complicated questions.
Not at all. They shouldn't be complicated.
Yeah. It's just really understanding and listening and being really intentional with that, because the more that you can unlock what's going on with an individual, their challenges, what's, taking over their mind, their calendar, their worries, their successes, the more you're able to unlock the best in people. And I agree. So.
Yeah. And I'll add a thought to that, and then I'm going to ask you a final question here. But I think it's once you do listen and you learn and you hear what it is, you got to respond to it and react to it. You can't just hear it and not do anything about it, because that would be the opposite of engagement.
Yeah. And Stephanie, may I add something before you get to your last question?
Yes, of course.
I'm actually in Atlanta, was with the Atlanta team last night. And one of the things that we were talking, so I will add this other, point to, great leaders today, and something you really have to be intentional about is, I think we have to be more clear on setting expectations.
Oh, for sure.
So I think we've all done that. We've had roles and responsibilities. We all know what the expectations of a position is. But I think in our environment today, and as we're challenged with lots of different ideas on what creates success, they should know the behavior, the activity, the what you're looking to see, what the cadence, what the process is, to your point. All of that needs to be crystal clear from the very beginning and agreed upon in that commitment area that we were talking about.
And consistency and message.
Because, and again, that's not about, that's not from leading with a stick. Let me tell you all the expectations. That's about agreement. Here's what creates success. I've seen it. I know it. Here's what the role is. And are you highly engaged? Are you all in? Are you fully committed in doing that? Because I'm responsible for making sure I set you up for success, and you're responsible for making sure you are.
That's right.
And expectations really, really need to be key, because nobody wants to go into a role and the expectations of anyone be false, because that doesn't help anybody be successful. That doesn't help our organizations be successful. So it's really important on setting expectations correctly.
I think we could have an entire podcast
conversation about that.
I think we could. That could be an entire episode on its own. And you use the word agreement, and I think I've heard you say something similar to that quite a few times on alignment. Just alignment and expectations, and alignment in the direction that we're going. All right, final thought. So we know there's been a lot of change. Captain Obvious, right? So if you look out 3, 4, 5 years, how do you think sales departments are going to evolve over the next handful of years, or changes that may come?
Yeah.
Any final thoughts on that?
Yeah. So, I mean, I absolutely am excited, and I absolutely believe that we are going to be even more advanced and more proven in being outcome-based selling. I think that is the way of our future. I think we have the opportunity to do that, and I think it's super exciting. So if I look forward to that, I'm just excited to continue on that road. I love that, how that ties back to our purpose. And our purpose is really helping businesses and brands grow. And so having proof in the outcomes of that is so rewarding. Right. And what better job could you be in that you're actually able to help change people's lives? That's so having that tied in a even further, more consistent and more powerful way is an awesome part of what I think the next 3 to 5 years are and can look like. And I would also say that, as we've all gone through transformation, and there's, some of our sales organizations have gone through that very, very effectively and very fast, and are continue to grow in that. And some others self-admittedly would say they're still challenged with that. I think 3 to 5 years, you can't still be challenged with that.
No.
You really have to be all in that.
You got to be all in.
Yeah. So that's what I would say are the two biggest things is, outcome based. And then you've got to really be able to look in the mirror at your department and say, we've got the people and the purpose in all the things we're trying to do, and we're not still trying to transform. We're always going to be transforming, but we need to get through that hurdle for sure.
Yeah.
Excellent. And I don't think we have. Yeah. Do you have one more question or no?
No.
All right. So Nicki, thank you so much for joining us. We really, really appreciate it. If anyone is interested in connecting with Nicki, we'll have her contact information, her LinkedIn and a connection and everything in the show notes. You can go and grab that there. Nicki, were you going to say something?
No, I would just hope, awesome. I love that plug. Thank you, Matt Sunshine. But I would just say also, for anyone that's listening to this, I really hope all those things for all of the, all of our competitors and all of our companies in this industry. I think together we can really, create an amazing industry together for the future. And that's what I would hope. So, also connecting with me for specific anything on TEGNA, but, also I just really hope that this is an industry, passion that we all share, because together we can be stronger for what opportunity we have in our communities.
Absolutely. Rising tides lift all boats.
Yeah,
that's exactly right. We look forward to seeing everyone on our next episode of the Improving Sales Performance podcast.
Awesome. Matt and Stephanie, as always, thank you for having me, number one. And thank you for, sharing those passions that we talked about today. Really appreciate you guys.
This has been Improving Sales Performance. Thanks for listening. If you like what you heard, join us every week by clicking that subscribe button. For more on the topics covered in the show, visit our website, thecenterforsalesstrategy.com. There you can find helpful resources and content aimed at improving your sales performance. And if you'd like to connect with any of us, including today's guests, please do. You can find our contact information in the show notes. Until next time, get out there and sell.